I'm Aurora, a holistic nutritionist, wellness nerd, and you are listening to Her Health, a podcast where we get real about hormones, healing, and how to feel good in your skin. I'm here to cut through the wellness noise and give you grounded, honest conversations. Whether you're looking for sisterly advice or science-backed tips, I've got you. So take a deep breath, pour yourself a drink, and let's dive in. Welcome to another episode. Today we are talking about PMS, how it is common, but it's not normal, how we can eliminate our symptoms, support our bodies, and have a pain-free period. PMS and extremely painful periods are very common. About 70% of women experience this, and up to 90% of women get bad cramps. A lot of the time, the impact of these symptoms is just part of being a woman, and we're disregarded in our pain, in what we're experiencing. And a lot of us suffer in silence. In reality, mild discomfort is completely normal when we're having our period, when we're bleeding. That debilitating pain and PMS and extreme mood swings is not it. Any pain that disrupts our daily life and disrupts us from our daily routine is a signal from our body that something else is going on. The good news is that understanding the root causes of PMS and the underlying issues behind our pain and everything that we go through, we can go to the source, go to the root cause, and fix them instead of keeping on living with this pain. In this episode, we'll explore why PMS happens, what's the truth behind each of our symptoms. So many of us have been just told to deal with it, and it's a part of our lives, but it doesn't have to be that way. It is not a necessary part of being a woman. So let's dive into what might be going on in your body and the actionable solutions from nutrition and supplements that you can take that can help balance your hormones and help you find relief. So PMS and period pain is common, but it is not normal. PMS refers to the physical and emotional symptoms that we get the 2 weeks leading up to our period. This is called our luteal phase. And it is the longest phase of the cycle, usually lasts between 10 to 14 days. In this phase, we can have mood swings, irritability, bloating, cravings, fatigue, aches, and so much more. It is true that some form of PMS is completely normal, but I think that we should challenge the idea that feeling miserable every single month is normal. The toll that PMS takes on our lives goes unrecognized and dismissed because it is just said that it is a part of being a woman. And of course, in some cases, extremely painful periods can indicate something like endometriosis. So it's always worth talking to a good doctor. But even if you don't have an underlying disorder, serious PMS and pain is a sign of imbalance in the body. Of course, we've been just told to just live with it, but it has us popping painkillers, scheduling each month around our period, and feeling bad every single month, or even going on birth control because our PMS is so bad. While of course these symptom treatments can help in the short term, they don't address why we feel so awful. So let's address the root causes of PMS. It always comes to underlying conditions like hormonal imbalances and nutrition and nutrient deficiencies. By identifying these issues and root causes, we can address them so our monthly cycle can be normal and a little less painful and a little less horrible. One of the core reasons behind PMS is imbalance in estrogen and progesterone. Those are the two main sex hormones. And a lot of the time we have something called estrogen dominance, meaning too much estrogen in the body compared to progesterone, or our body isn't just producing enough progesterone. In a healthy cycle, our estrogen rises in the first half of the cycle and then drops, and progesterone rises in the second half of the cycle, which is the luteal phase. If our estrogen is too high compared to progesterone, that is what triggers PMS. Mood swings, irritability, and heavy periods. So essentially having too much estrogen or not enough progesterone. Progesterone is very calming to the body, by the way. Overstimulates the body. Excess estrogen can cause fluid retention, bloating, breast swelling, acne, and very heightened emotions. It is also linked to headaches, migraines, heavy periods. And then on the other hand, low progesterone is linked to irritability, anxiety, as normally progesterone has that very anti-anxiety effect. Progesterone also helps to keep the uterine lining stable, so low levels of progesterone contribute to those heavier cramps. So what causes estrogen dominance in the body? This is a great question and I love it. One of the reasons is stress. Surprise, surprise. Chronic stress can lower progesterone and really affect our estrogen detoxification, or our body metabolizing estrogen, which leads to estrogen lingering back into the bloodstream, as well as certain lifestyle choices and the products that we use, xenoestrogens, that can mimic estrogen in the body and affect our estrogen levels. Those would include a lot of conventional beauty products, household products, fragrances, candles that have parabens and phthalates in them that are just essentially really bad for our hormone balance. This is why clean products and low tox or non-toxic options for everything that you use in the house, on your skin, on your body, everywhere. Also, gut health has a lot to do with it. If our gut microbiome is imbalanced, that can interfere with our estrogen elimination and then leads to estrogen buildup. And this is why gut health matters. Think good probiotics to balance the gut microbiome and fiber to feed that gut microbiome everything that it needs to thrive and also eliminate that excess estrogen. So hormone imbalance, especially estrogen dominance compared to progesterone, is a big cause behind those hormonal issues, and PMS and excess estrogen really sets the stage for PMS to happen. Inflammation is a big cause of period problems, and we don't talk about it enough. It is often disregarded, but inflammation in the body raises certain chemicals that directly affect our menstrual cycle. Prostaglandins are hormone-like compounds that cause the uterus to contract, which means cramping, and it also influences our blood vessels. So right before a period, our prostaglandins contract the uterine lining. If we have high levels of inflammatory prostaglandins, you'll definitely get more intense period cramps, pain, and even symptoms like diarrhea, feeling fatigued, exhausted. So if you've ever felt like you have diarrhea or stomach issues before your period, blame the prostaglandins and inflammation. It is found that women with severe cramps produce excess prostaglandins, which creates a mini inflammatory storm in each cycle that causes the pain. Beyond the cramps, inflammation in the body can worsen PMS symptoms, the mood swings, irritability. Studies have found that women with PMS have elevated and higher markers of inflammation in the body. Inflammation can also affect the brain chemistry, contributing to the mood swings and even depression. So what drives inflammation in the body? A diet that's high in refined sugars, super ultra processed foods. For an example, a lot of vegan substitutes are very, very ultra processed. A lot of conventional dairy is ultra processed. That's why I don't like a lot of vegan substitutes, even though I don't really even eat dairy, but they are so highly processed and can contribute to inflammation in the body. Chronic stress, environmental factors, and endocrine disruptors, like we talked about in conventional beauty products, household cleaning products, fragrances, all the things. Plastics, as well as gut issues, can all produce low-level inflammation in the body. If your body is inflamed, your PMS will most likely be worse. Research shows that pro-inflammatory diets correlate directly, and then anti-inflammatory diets actually correlate with less PMS symptoms. And we're going to talk about more on diet. Nutrient deficiencies can also be a big cause behind PMS because our diets and our lifestyles leave many of us deficient in some key nutrients. And if we have poor gut health, affects the way that we absorb nutrients. Also, our soil is not as nutrient dense anymore as it once was. Bad soil leads to less nutrients in our food, which means we're not getting as many nutrients as we once were from our food. All of this directly links to worse PMS. Our hormones and our neurotransmitters rely on certain nutrients, vitamins, minerals to stay balanced. So if you're running low on these ones, your cycle and your brain can suffer. Low magnesium. Magnesium is a PMS superstar. That's why I always say that every woman should supplement with magnesium. It is not only good for PMS, it's also amazing for our thyroid hormones and of course our stress levels. Magnesium calms the nervous system, relaxes the muscles, and women with PMS have been found to have lower magnesium levels, especially in the red blood cells. So supplementing with magnesium can have really big effects. If you're not getting enough magnesium, which is super common because stress and sugar and even hormonal birth control deplete our body off of magnesium, you may experience anxiety and headaches around your period. I personally supplement with magnesium glycinate. Magnesium glycinate is amazing for everything, and magnesium L-threonate is amazing for your brain health. Vitamin Bs, and especially vitamin B6, are super important. Vitamin B6 is crucial for our neurotransmitter synthesis like serotonin and for hormone metabolism, producing hormones, energy, and mood, and all the things. Low B vitamins, and especially B6, is associated with worsened PMS and mood swings. And many studies, including meta-analysis, have found that supplementing with B6 significantly reduce PMS and mood issues. So I always recommend a very good high quality vitamin B complex, hopefully a methylated one, which means a activated one. I love a liposomal one because my body can handle that better. I'm very sensitive to vitamin Bs. Also, vitamin Bs help our liver to metabolize all of the excess hormones in the body. Calcium and vitamin D are not just for our bones. They play a huge role in our neurotransmitter release and muscle function. There's a big study that showed that getting at least 1,200 milligrams of calcium daily significantly reduced emotional and physical PMS symptoms. Vitamin D in turn helps calcium absorption and of course has its own hormonal effects, and it can really reduce the pain that we experience during our period. There are other nutrients that can really help as well. For example, zinc is anti-inflammatory and helps to reduce cramps. Vitamin E is an antioxidant that helps to reduce PMS and cramps. Omega-3 fatty acids, which are amazing for inflammation, hormone production, hormone balance, which can be found in fatty fish, chia seeds, flax seeds, avocado. But I think also this is something that most women should be supplementing with because most of us are not getting enough through our diet. So essentially, a diet that is lacking in these micronutrients and healthy fats can really put us at risks for PMS and PMDD. And it is good to note that many of these anti-PMS nutrients are those that reduce inflammation and support our neurotransmitters. If you've been relying on caffeine and sugary snacks to get through that afternoon slump, we've all been there. You might unknowingly be deficient in all of these nutrients. One sneaky cause of PMS and hormonal imbalances, unstable blood sugar. And I talk about this all the time. Unstable blood sugar is one of the key things behind a lot of our issues, and it really should be taken seriously even if we don't have diabetes. Big swings in your blood glucose levels, either from skipping meals or having caffeine on an empty stomach, or of course eating snacks or meals that are high in refined sugars, can wreak havoc on our hormones and our mood. So this is why balancing our blood sugar is super important. If our blood sugar is like a roller coaster, our mood is going to be right like a roller coaster as well. I think we've all can remember a time where we had a little bit too much sugar and we got really, really irritated afterwards. When your blood sugar spikes and crashes, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to rescue you from the low blood sugar. This can lead to irritability, anxiety, and cravings, which often we experience in the luteal phase, which is our PMS week. If your diet is high in sugary or high glycemic foods, research shows that we are prone to have more severe and painful PMS. Studies have found that women that eat a traditionally Western diet, which is higher in sugar and refined carbs, have a worse PMS than those who eat vegetables and fiber, which both stabilize blood sugar. Also, chronically high insulin from those blood sugar spikes can affect our reproductive hormones. High insulin can drive the ovaries to make more androgens, which can lower our sex hormone binding globulin, which makes our body more prone to estrogen dominance. See how everything's connected? There's also evidence that blood sugar spikes and crashes create more inflammation in the body, both of which make PMS worse. Also, interestingly, in the luteal phase, which is our PMS phase, the last phase of the cycle, our body and our metabolism actually speeds up and we burn through more calories. And a lot of us get more hungry and we might be craving carbs before our period. And this is partly because our body is asking for more fuel. So in this phase, it is super important to incorporate complex carbs in the diet. For example, sweet potato and quinoa are great choices. If you don't eat to match this need, if you keep eating the same way the whole cycle and you keep avoiding complex carbs or any carbs, or just grab quick sugary snacks because you're craving them, our blood sugar crashes can amplify and get worse, even more PMS fatigue and moodiness. So stable blood sugar is associated with less PMS. Something that's also good to know is that drops in our blood glucose levels trigger cortisol release, which is a stress response. So erratic eating essentially adds stress onto our bodies, which keeps the blood sugar high. So keeping blood sugar steady is important for our stress levels as well. So blood sugar really throws gas onto the PMS fire, which is why keeping our blood sugar stable is super, super important. Chronic stress is also a big reason behind PMS. I don't think this comes as a surprise to anyone that stress worsens everything. The mind-body connection is super, super strong when it comes to our menstrual cycle and PMS. Stress hormones disrupt our sex hormones and interfere with the normal rise of progesterone. It can also worsen insulin resistance, inflammation in the body, and fueling all the other root causes that we just talked about. I'm sure a lot of us have noticed that during those very stressful periods, our PMS is worse and our cycle is probably not as regular as it is when we're not as stressed. Stress and anxiety can also lower our pain threshold. So if we're tense and our cortisol is high, we experience pain more intensely. There are many studies that confirm the stress and PMS correlation, meaning higher stress levels equals severe PMS symptoms, which is why stress management is super, super important, not only for our brain and us feeling better, but also experiencing less painful periods. Like we discussed, stress also contributes to that estrogen dominance that makes everything worse. So if blood sugar imbalances were putting gas on the fire, stress is what lights the match. It can trigger or amplify our PMS symptoms through multiple pathways: estrogen, inflammation, cortisol, neurotransmitters. Managing stress isn't just about self-care, it is necessary. But self-care is important. So all of these root causes, hormonal imbalances, inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, chronic stress, is something that most of us experience in today's modern life. So all of these root causes are deeply interconnected to each other and of course to our issues, and something that most of us experience, which is why it's not a surprise that 90% of us have bad PMS. Stress can cause hormonal imbalance and nutrient depletion. Gut and liver health influence estrogen and inflammation, and so on. So the key insight here really is that PMS and period pain are not random. They are your body's way of signaling that something is off. So addressing all these underlying issues, getting to the root causes, is how we can dramatically help our monthly symptoms and regular cycle. Now that we've covered the why, now we can cover the how we can actually fix these issues. We need a holistic approach that covers and addresses these root causes. In my professional and personal experience, addressing and focusing on these three is going to make a big difference. Balancing your blood sugar, managing stress, and syncing with our cycle. Targeted supplements that support our body. So firstly, how do we balance our blood sugar? The goal is to avoid those extreme spikes and crashes, and instead we want steady, sustainable energy for our body and our brain. Eat regular balanced meals. Start your morning with breakfast. Don't have caffeine on an empty stomach. Caffeine not only spikes our cortisol, but through our cortisol spikes our blood sugar. So having caffeine after you have breakfast is super important. Don't skip meals, especially in the luteal phase. In the first phase of the cycle, which is the follicular phase, so right after we stop bleeding, we can do with a little bit less calories and a little bit more stress. It doesn't affect our body as much. So if you want to intermittent fast, do it in the follicular phase, but in the luteal phase, so in our PMS week, we do not want to intermittent fast. We want to be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and probably a snack as well. A perfect breakfast in the luteal phase is something with complex carbs, protein, and healthy fats. For an example, sweet potatoes with eggs and avocado. Perfect. Also remember that our body needs more calories in the luteal phase, so it is important to eat. Eat something between every 3 to 5 hours, and every single meal should have protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Super Trio slows the glucose release and prevents those sharp spikes and crashes. So for an example, if you want to eat a whole wheat bagel, for example, you want to add some eggs to that to make sure that you are getting your protein in as well. Focus on low glycemic carbs, vegetables instead of pasta and pizza and bread. Fruits, legumes, and whole grains are a lot better in keeping our blood sugar stable. And it can be hard, especially in the luteal phase when we might be craving more carbs and we might be craving sugar. But instead of sugar, how about have good root vegetables and complex carbs with your meals to keep that blood sugar stable. Protein and healthy fats are necessary and they are needed. Protein from lean meats, fish, eggs, tofu, legumes, and anti-inflammatory healthy fats like avocado, olive oil at each meal help to keep our blood sugar stable. If you want something sweet, have a handful of nuts with it. Just slow down that glucose spike. They also help to keep us fuller longer, reducing those super hangry moments that we might have, and reducing the temptation of eating junk food or sugar. Satisfying your sweet tooth with something like fruits or berries or even dark chocolate, by the way, which is super high in magnesium, can be great in the luteal phase. But if you do want to indulge in desserts, take a brisk, quick walk after that, because walking after you eat and walking after meals can really help to keep that blood sugar stable because your muscles are now using up some of that glucose. Don't overdo on caffeine and alcohol. Both of those can disrupt the blood sugar, of course, worsen stress, and worsen inflammation in the body. They can also affect your sleep, which affects your PMS as well. So moderation is key, but remember that in our luteal phase, we are more sensitive. So cutting caffeine and alcohol can really help keep PMS symptoms low. Try to eat a nutrient-dense anti-inflammatory diet. Essentially, this means lots of vegetables, fruits, berries, protein, healthy fats. For example, the Mediterranean style diet is great, which is rich in fish and olive oil and root vegetables. It has been associated for the longest time with lower levels of inflammation. And some specific foods that you could include are leafy greens for magnesium and calcium, bananas and avocados for potassium and B6, and omega-3s, nuts and seeds for magnesium and healthy fats, fatty fish and flax seeds for those omega-3s, and vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts contain DIM, which help our liver process estrogen and other hormones from the body. So all of these can really help to lower and manage those PMS symptoms. How do we manage stress in this crazy world? You want to prioritize sleep. This is a non-negotiable. You need at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night. Being sleep deprived throws off all of our hormones. It can raise cortisol and insulin and lower serotonin, which is our feel-good hormone. And all of these are, of course, extremely bad for PMS. In the second half of the cycle, in the luteal phase and in the menstrual phase, honestly, we might need more than 7 to 9 hours. So listen to your body and try to get more rest. We are also more introverted during this time, so don't push yourself to go out to social events. Take some time for yourself, self-care at home, and keep a regular sleep schedule. Keep your bedroom dark. Put some red lights in there instead of regular lights. No TV or scrolling before bed. What I do is I like to read or journal or listen to an audiobook if I don't feel like reading, and really just start to calm down for the day so that our body starts to produce more melatonin so that we sleep better. Also, magnesium glycinate in the evening can really help lower PMS and for us to sleep better. Exercising regularly is super, super important, but don't overdo it. Not exercising and over-exercising worsens PMS and hormonal imbalances. In the luteal phase especially, which is the last phase, we already talked about how we are more prone to stress. So HIIT workouts and intense cardio makes our body even more stressed out, which can worsen chronic stress and our stress response. Slow strength training, longer walks, slow yoga are all better for you in the last 2 weeks of your cycle rather than overdoing the HIIT and the cardio workouts. Physical activity and exercising helps to relieve PMS symptoms, both physical and emotional. It releases endorphins and improves insulin sensitivity. Even a 30-minute walk every single day makes a big difference. Other mind-body techniques that can really help to lower stress is yoga. Yoga is moving meditation. At least for me, when you're focusing on your breath, every single movement is one breath that you take. It really helps you to get into that meditative state. So try it if you haven't tried yoga. Mindfulness meditations or deep breathing can also be really, really beneficial. There are amazing tutorials and videos that you can watch on free on YouTube that can really help with that. Even a 5-minute guided meditation can make a big difference in the morning. They lower cortisol and put you in that parasympathetic state. If you don't find any that you like, you can just simply breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, and then breathe out for 5 seconds. Do this for 5 minutes and you'll feel so much better. Journaling can also really, really help. Even something like the 5-minute journal can really set you up, keep you focused. What I've noticed that helped me is setting goals for the day every single morning of how I want to feel, how I'm going to respond to stress, and help to keep me on track. If you have super high stress and anxiety, talking to a therapist can really, really help with that. Find ways to manage stress that work for you. That can also be a walk in nature, laughing with your friends, listening to music, finding a creative hobby like painting or doing any type of art. Laughter and fun are some of the most amazing ways to manage stress. And we don't talk about that enough, but you need some laughter and fun in your life. Don't underestimate the power of enjoyment in balancing your hormones. You can also take some calming herbs. I love reishi, which is an adaptogen. It's a mushroom. It really helps with fight or flight mode, and it also helps to balance estrogen. I'll link my favorite one below. It's from Versio Wellness, and I always have a discount code Roar Yoga that you can use. Holy basil can be amazing, ashwagandha, and also herb tinctures like the Flow Balance from Organic Olivia. Balance hormones, they help with progesterone production and estrogen balance. Remember to also set boundaries and slow down. Like I said, the luteal phase is a phase where we are more introverted, so try not to overload your schedule. Say no to all the unnecessary commitments, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. Build in a little downtime each day just for yourself, even if it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, you need that time for yourself to take care of yourself and your brain and your mind and your hormones. Actively managing your stress will tell your body that it is safe. Your hormonal system will start to balance when it is not in that constant fight or flight mode. It not only, of course, helps to manage PMS, but it also helps with quality of life too. While a good anti-inflammatory whole food diet is the basis, we might need some help from some supplements, especially if we're working with nutrient deficiencies or provide those therapeutic doses of these vitamins and minerals that we might not be getting through food alone. All of these are extremely researched and help so much. First one, of course, like we already talked about, if you should choose even one supplement, I think it should be magnesium. It addresses multiple root causes. Hormone imbalance, it relaxes the muscles to reduce cramps, it helps with mood and anxiety, and studies show that it is super effective for PMS. Take it daily in the evening before you go to sleep. I usually take it 1 to 2 hours before because it can improve sleep quality and it can actually also help with bowel movement. Magnesium glycinate is amazing for everything, and L-threonate is the one for your brain health. I like to take both. If you were to supplement with anything else, it would be vitamin Bs. So a activated vitamin B complex or just vitamin B6. Amazing for PMS, amazing for mood, hormone production, helps to produce serotonin, our feel-good hormone, combat depression and mood issues. So I suggest taking a vitamin B complex that includes vitamin B6. Usually they always do because they work in synergy and are super, super helpful. If your diet is low in calcium, you could benefit from supplementing with calcium. Vitamin D depends on where you live, how much you're outside, and also, of course, on your diet. Excess vitamin D can cause your body to produce more androgens, and it can create more hormonal acne. So I would be careful with vitamin D. But if you live in a place that doesn't get a lot of sunlight, then probably you might be needing vitamin D. But both are amazing, not only for bones, but for our mood and for hormone balance. Omega-3s is also something that I think every woman should be supplementing with because we are not getting enough through our diet. They are amazing for hormone production and lowering inflammation and our mood and our energy and our skin as well. They reduce the production of most prostaglandins so they can significantly reduce period cramps and mood swings. Turmeric is one of the best roots that we can eat. It is super anti-inflammatory. I absolutely love it. I drink turmeric and ginger shots every single morning. It is basically like medicine, honestly. If you don't want to drink turmeric and ginger shots, you can take a high quality turmeric supplement. Just make sure that it has black pepper in it too. And if you're making those turmeric shots, add black pepper to it because that enhances the absorption of the turmeric. Vitex is amazing for progesterone production. If you have low progesterone, if you have long luteal phases and your PMS is really, really bad, you probably have low progesterone, especially compared to estrogen. So Vitex is something that you might want to be taking. There's Vitex in the Flow Balance formula that I mentioned before. I'll link it below. I also have a discount code for that, Roar Yoga. But there's also Dawn Key in that. Cramp bark and wild yam, which all helps to balance the progesterone and estrogen balance. They help to ease PMS symptoms and keep your cycle regular. Given the role that our gut has for our hormones and inflammation, supporting our gut health is really, really important. So that's why taking a quality probiotic is important as well. Good probiotics helps to support that gut microbiome balance, hormone metabolism, and hormone production and inflammation. And eating fiber helps to feed that gut microbiome. I love the Not Your Average probiotic from Organic Olivia again. I've been using it for 5 years. It is a high quality, multi-strain probiotic, and it helps with hormone imbalance, with skin health, with bloating. Liver support is super, super important as well because liver, of course, metabolizes and filters through all of our toxins in the body that we get from our environment, from the foods that we eat, from the drinks that we drink, and of course, excess hormones as well. So that excess estrogen. Milk thistle, dandelion, artichoke, Oregon grapefruit all help with your liver's natural detoxification process. So does citrus fruit. So warm lemon water in the morning can be amazing. I do that, and I do the liver juice from Organic Olivia as well. Not now when I'm pregnant, but for the last 5 years. It might sound trendy to say to detox your liver, but what it really means is that it aids your liver's natural processes. I really hate when a lot of people say to me on social media that you can't detox your liver. That's what your liver does. That's true, but there are things that we can do with our diet and our lifestyle that either more stress on our liver or can aid our liver. So that's what it really means. Last but not least, let's talk about cycle syncing and why it's important. Basically, what cycle syncing means is that we live in sync with our cycle. Our hormones are changing every single week, sometimes every single day, and that affects our mood, our energy, our metabolism. So cycle syncing really means is that we adjust our diet, exercise, and how we work. And it works because we are acknowledging these shifts that are happening in the body and with our hormones. And we start living with them instead of all the time fighting against our body and our hormones. If our day looks the same every single day, we're exercising the same way, we're eating the same food, we're sleeping the same way, then we are probably fighting against our hormones and our body, and we're not living in sync with it. So here's how you're going to do it. So the first phase of the cycle, which is the menstrual phase, usually days 1 to 5. That's the bleeding phase. Our hormones, progesterone and estrogen, are at the lowest at this point, which often means that we have very low energy. This is our rest and recovery phase. And again, it's not for very long. It's not usually even a week. It's just a few days. So you can take a few days out of your month to slow down a bit. This is a great time for reflection, thinking about the past month and now what our goals for the next month should be. Definitely saying no to social pressures and too much work, if possible. In terms of diet, our body does really well on warm and nourishing foods. So think soups and stews and things that are very easy to digest. Also, iron-rich foods to replenish lost blood and iron. So think spinach and grass-fed beef, lentils, kidney beans, pumpkin seeds, spices like ginger and turmeric, and think gentle movement like yoga and slow Pilates, walking are all amazing during this phase. Follicular phase is the phase right after we stop bleeding. So usually days 6 to 13. This is when our hormones start to rise again. So our estrogen is starting to rise. We start to have more energy. We're feeling a little bit more optimistic. Serotonin levels, by the way, follow estrogen. So this is why when in the luteal phase, our estrogen drops, our serotonin drops as well. And now in the follicular phase, our estrogen is starting to rise. So our serotonin is starting to rise too. And we are feeling more happy, more optimistic about things. This is a great time for initiating new projects, starting new hobbies, trying new things, and socializing as well. We're more confident, more outgoing. So with diet in this phase, like I said before, we can intermittent fast in this phase. It is safer. We can do with less calories. So think lighter foods, fresh foods, smoothies, salads, lean proteins, vitamin Bs, zinc, all are amazing here. And with exercise, you can now start doing more cardio. So think HIIT, all the things. Ovulatory phase, which is the shortest phase, but usually is our best phase, lasts for about 4 days. This is our best time. We are super social, super energetic. This is the time to communicate and do high output tasks. So knock out those things on your to-do list. This is a time to do presentations at work, important meetings, public speaking, networking, going on dates, all the things. With our diet, it's important to support our liver now. So think citrus fruits because now we are metabolizing that estrogen. Lots of greens, raw carrots, like that raw carrot salad that a lot of us have seen go viral online. Those cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts to help to metabolize that estrogen. And keep eating balanced meals to keep your blood sugar balanced. But don't skip meals in this phase. Definitely eat. With exercise, we can do those HIIT workouts and those cardio workouts because we have a lot of energy to burn. Then we get to our luteal phase, our last phase before bleeding, which is the PMS phase. And everything that we did in the phases before preps us for this phase. Now, I already said less caffeine, less alcohol, less sugar for sure. So after our ovulation, our progesterone starts to rise and it takes over as the main sex hormone while our estrogen and serotonin are dropping. This is when we start to feel those PMS and all those issues if we're not taking care of ourselves the whole month before. Focus on completing tasks and self-care, especially the first half of this phase to wrap up projects, wrap up work tasks, wrap up everything that you need to wrap up. And then in the second half of this, so the 4th week of our cycle, basically focus on slowing down and self-care. start to slow down with all of your social requirements. Plan to have a more nights in at home. As for diet, like I said before, our metabolism, we need about 100 to 300 more calories in this phase, and our body can really thrive on complex carbs. So add those complex carbs in now. If you avoid carbs in the previous phases, sweet potato, quinoa, squash, brown rice, beans, all boost serotonin, keep the blood sugar stable, keep the mood stable, and help our body get rid of that excess estrogen. Exercise in this phase, in the early stage of this phase, we can still keep going with a little bit more intensity, but as we go through this phase, we start to slow down. So Pilates, yoga, hikes, long walks are all amazing in this stage, and less cardio, more strength training. By implementing cycle syncing, we really start to live with our body and with our cycle and with our hormones, and it can really help to reduce those PMS symptoms. So rather than fighting with our body and forcing ourselves to keep going like we've been going, we accept the fact that our energy and metabolism and everything changes, and we switch it up every week. So think more that we are aligning everything that we do with our natural state. Over time, this can really help to regulate cycle, fewer PMS symptoms, less pain, less mood issues, and feeling more balanced and in control. We covered a lot of ground in this, so let's put it all together. And if you get anything from this, remember these things. Balance your blood sugar, manage your stress, support your body with key nutrients, listen to your body and your cycle, lower inflammation, and be consistent. Healing hormonal imbalances and PMS really takes time. It can take a few cycles at least to really start to see and feel the effects. So you have to be consistent. Periods are a fact of life. They are actually our 5th vital sign. So super important as a woman to have periods. Of course, unless there's some other medical reason why we don't have them. But at the baseline, periods are our 5th vital sign. But suffering from our periods, it is not normal. It is not a necessary part of being a woman. You don't have to suffer. And by uncovering the root causes of your PMS and your pain and your issues is going to help you and live a better, more stable, happier life. Of course, if doing all of these things, you don't see any improvements, you definitely should see a doctor and talk about your issues with a doctor. Take tests to see what could be going on. Is it a thyroid issue or other underlying issues that could be causing this? But the truth is that you are not meant to suffer. These symptoms are your body's signs that something is off, something needs to be addressed, and that you need to nurture your body and listen to your body maybe a little bit more instead of fighting against all of those symptoms. Remember that you are not alone. 90% of us feel like this. So we are all in this. PMS is a real issue that most of us experience, but we have these beautiful real solutions that we can do to make it better. Many women that I work with, and including myself, have transformed their lives and their monthly experience. So give yourself at least 3 cycles of commitment to see how this affects you and how you feel. Keep a journal of your symptoms to track your symptoms so you can really see what has improved, what hasn't. Celebrate even the small wins. Like, wow, I didn't have to take a painkiller today, and last month I did need to take a painkiller. Or that I felt way more calm, or I felt less irritable. This way, your menstrual cycle actually becomes a source of strength and intuition, rather than just this really annoying monthly occurrence that just happens. By working with your body, you are tapping into this inner power, and it can really help your overall wellness journey and how you're feeling in your body every single day. You deserve to feel good all month long, and something that was normal for you before will now become a thing of the past. So here's to balanced hormones and happy periods. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next one.